Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Motivation and Mindset Monday. It is great to have you here with me today, and I'm so excited for today's topic of the week. These Motivation and Mindset Mondays, as I always say, are just as much for me as they are for you. My goal is to be able to, every single Monday, re-inspire all of us in this community to know why we're a little bit different, to know why we're willing to work on ourselves as much as any other part of our life. Because we know if we're willing to work on ourselves, everything else in life gets better. And today's topic, really, these things always strike me in different ways. But I was having this conversation with someone that I very much care for. And what I shared with them was this, is that whoever they were in the past, even just yesterday, is not predictive of who they can be today or tomorrow. And at first, it didn't make a lot of sense to them because they only saw themselves as them, that person, uniquely them. And I completely agree with that, and I understand that we are who we are to a certain degree. But if we are simply living by the programming of our childhood, and our previous jobs, and our previous relationships, and all those different things, then no matter what, we're dragging our past along with us. That means that to a very large degree, you are reliving your past every single day. Now, for some people, maybe that's not so bad. But for many of us, that's simply not going to lead to the bright future that we're looking for. So what I shared with this person was this. If you continue to remember everything that you did incorrectly, you are destined to repeat those same mistakes. And I'll share with you a little twist on that and why in just a moment. But what happens is this. Our brain does its very best to keep us safe. It's something called the limbic part of the brain. It goes back to the old reptilian brain. And what it shares with us is that we are in constant danger in life. That's just the way that it is. And it was to a much greater degree hundreds of thousands and if not millions of years ago. And that part of the brain is still with us, that you could be eaten, that you could be killed for all sorts of different issues in life. That's the way that was, especially when you were living in the wild unprotected. Things are a little bit different today. But nevertheless, if something that was a certain color in the environment and you ate it and you ended up getting poisoned, your brain would say, and it would remember that color and say, don't eat things that are bright red, right? That's one of the things in the jungle and in nature that's sometimes a warning for certain animals. Or if you see this certain type of bug or creature and it bites you, you know that you could become very sick. Or if you stray far from your tribe late at night and you don't have night vision because you are not a nocturnal animal, then you are much more likely to succumb to or become the prey of that predator. So our brain remembered these things and it says, hey, don't make this mistake again. Don't make the mistake that that person made. And it tries to keep us safe. Now, it happens that way with poor job performance or mistakes that you made in your job before. So now maybe you're worried about giving a presentation because you've messed up in the past. Or you've made relationship mistakes in the past and you believe that you're going to repeat those same mistakes in the future. Or you've lost weight before, you've taken the 30 pounds off, the 40 pounds off, but every time you do, something inevitably it comes up and you regain all of that weight again. Or in terms of your health, you've gotten healthy before, you feel fit, you've got energy, and then you relapse. And then you're back to low mood, frustration, low energy, low ambition, low libido, low endurance, low everything. You just don't feel like yourself. You don't feel great. So we've all been there, and our brain says, hey, be careful. Don't try this again. Don't do this. It's just always bringing our mistakes up in front of us. And yes, our brain is trying to be helpful, but the problem is it is difficult to overcome that addiction loop of those negative thoughts. So what we have to do, though, is we have to understand is that our past is not predictive of our future unless we allow it to be. If anything, our past, if we handle it appropriately and we think about it appropriately, is the gateway to a better future. We just have to make sure that we are not continuing to live in the past in our present moment. Because you are. If you are worried about making the same mistakes that you did in the past, you are then being anxious of the future while worried about the past, right? It's not a good place to live because it doesn't allow for that excitement of possibility. So what we need to do is every time our brain brings up to us that limbic part of the brain that, hey, watch out for this. Don't try something new. You know what happened last time you tried something new. Be careful getting into a relationship. You know the last time that you got hurt. Don't try that new weight loss plan. You always just gain the weight back. It's trying to draw us back into our comfort zone. Remember, even our comfort zone might not be comfortable, right? We might be in an uncomfortable zone, but at least we know it. And our brain is at least saying, listen, you know this. You're about to enter into uncharted territory, the unknown, or even worse, maybe you've tried it before in the past and it didn't work. How is it going to be different this time? Your brain doesn't know yet. And that's what we need to override. Remember, you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are only one part of you, right? So our subconscious begins to bubble up, and give us all these different beliefs. Now, that nobody said that those beliefs are true, but they're there for a reason. Childhood programming from our family, from our community, from our siblings, from our friends, our upbringing, whatever it might be. And then reinforced during our teenage years, during our adult years and work, relationships, whatever it might be. So our goal, though, is absolutely to discover what are my dominant thoughts. And that's why I'm such an advocate of journaling. And you could journal it if you wanted to on an app in your phone, like the Notes, app on your iPhone, or you can use a Moleskine journal. I prefer people put pen to paper because it's something to review back on. Listen, this is what I was struggling with. You can keep it completely private, and this is how I overcame it. But if you know multiple days in a row, here are my dominant thoughts. Here's what starts to enter into my mind. Here are the negative things that my subconscious is telling me. I'm not my subconscious, but this is what my subconscious is saying over and over and over. So if this is what my subconscious is saying, this is what's holding me back. And that's the great thing. And again, I'll see if I can find the show right now for you. But it was let's see right here. Well, it's going to be an upcoming show. Okay, an upcoming show. I will be bringing on one of my mindset coaches and the way that he works with people as well. And it's something that you can begin to look into. But I share a lot of it on the Mindset and Motivation Mondays, is that we need to begin to look at our subconscious beliefs outside of ourselves. Basically, as an outside bystander. Let's say a friend came to you with these specific thoughts or these specific issues. How would you talk to your friend, right? We need to separate ourself from ourself. And I have to do this myself. Like if I ever am going through something specifically, health-wise, whatever it might be, I have to actually look at everything from outside of me. Because I'm starting to think of it as like, oh, well, this is me, and so I need to do things differently. No. It's like there's a standard plan in order to be able to help people become successful. Health, relationships, weight loss, anti-aging, career, there are blueprints, right? And so if anything's ever off, we need to go back, follow those blueprints, right? Let's say I were to run blood lab and all of a sudden I were to find that my LDL was high or my alkaline phosphatase was low. I'd say, okay, why would my LDL be high? Like what's going on with inflammatory markers? Am I taking in too many fats that is not agreeable with my body? Am I taking in too many processed carbs? Like what's going on? And the low alkaline phosphatase. Okay, do I have low zinc? Do I have higher levels of copper? Like what exactly is going on in my body? And I have to separate me from that and say, this is what you do in order to rebalance those specific things. So it has to be the same with us. I always talk about we have to have a gentler approach with ourselves that we would have with a best friend. You should not treat your best friends better than you treat yourself. And I know that might offend some people, but you have to think about it. Why would you treat other people better than you treat yourself? Treat them amazingly well. Treat yourself amazingly well as well, right? So you get to be part of the group of people that you love. A lot of times we forget that, right? Self-care in all areas of life is vitally important. Not just self-care for your body. A massage is great. Getting your nails done is great. Getting your hair done is great. Getting a facial is great. Doing acupuncture is great. Like all these things are great. But mental health is also part of that. And talking negatively to yourself every single day is something that you can't do if you want your future to be different. So let's start to get into this a little bit deeper right now. If you want your future to be different than your past, you must take different actions. Now, you might say, well, that probably makes sense, but how do I control my actions? And it's a good question, right? So or for example, I'm in the health-based field. Let's say that someone has an autoimmune issue and they've never been able to overcome it. They want to overcome it now. So it's really began to affect their overall inflammatory levels, weight gain, water retention, brain fog, sleep, you name it. So they have to look at their life a little bit differently. Whatever you've done for changes in your diet, great. But if you've done that, well, that's probably not the answer. But good, you know one more thing, one more way that isn't the way that's going to help you. So we need to take a different action then. Maybe we look at gut-based permeability, right? We look at intestinal permeability, increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Maybe that's a big factor. Maybe there's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Maybe there's H. pylori. Maybe there's parasites. Maybe there's candida overgrowth. Maybe there's all four, right? So when we look at those, we say, okay, well, that's a different action. I ran a lab. I found out that I had those things. I got on a corrective protocol to remove those things, as well as one to help seal my gut. And I can begin to heal then. So that is a new action. But what preceded that action? Because this is more important. Before you can take any new action like running a lab or completing a protocol, or again, like anything that you might do in terms of relationships or career, right? Studying for that next certification or whatever it might be. Before you can take action on any of those things, you must have a belief that the future can be different. So you'll never take the action if you don't actually believe that your future could be different than your past and your past mistakes. So now, let's say, okay, have the autoimmune issue, you're really feeling poor. You're like, your energy's down, your mood's down, you're not that fun to be around. And again, with good reason, you don't feel well, right? You're not getting a good sleep. So you meet a friend and they say, well, this is what I did. I was suffering from similar symptoms, not exactly like yours, but similar symptoms. Here's what I did. And today, now I'm well. Process took about 4 months, 5 months, whatever it might be. And you have to first say to yourself, not immediately dismiss it, right? Because the brain is going to want to say, well, that person's different than you. They had a different autoimmune issue, this, that, and the other thing, right? Because our brain will just try to talk us out of it. Like, it sounds like work. We need to do stuff, like all of that, right? But the truth is this, is that you have to first allow yourself to believe that your future can be different, which means that every time your brain brings up those signals that already tried that before, already did that, sounds similar to this, didn't work out in the past, you need to essentially think like this. This is what I do. I write it down first, which basically makes it a bystander. It's on a piece of paper. It's not in my own brain. It's not in my own head anymore. It's not out there in the atmosphere, right? So it's on a piece of paper. Okay. My brain, or my subconscious, however you want to look at it, is telling me that I'm not going to get well, that I've tried it all before, that everybody's plan is different because they're different than me. All of these different things. You write that down. And you can start to look at that and just say, how do I know? Is that true? Is that 100% true? Or, better yet, is it possible that it's not true? Is there even a shadow of a doubt that it's possible that this isn't true? And that's the first opening that you need. So the first thing you do is you thank your subconscious, you thank your body, you thank your brain, you thank the universe, you thank God, whoever you choose to thank. You say, thank you for trying to keep me safe, for always doing your best and doing your part to make sure that I stay safe. I appreciate it and I'm grateful that you bring this up. However, I know that in order for my future to be different than my past, I must do things differently, because there is no change without change. And I know the only way to change my actions, which is ultimately what gets things done, that I must first change my thoughts. change my beliefs, change my feelings towards my goal. So what I'm telling you today is don't shrink down. Don't short circuit your success by saying, I need to shrink my goals. I need to play it safe. You don't. I want you to set lofty goals because whatever goal you have for yourself, somebody's already achieved. I mean, honestly, whatever you're thinking about, anything that I'm thinking about, somebody's already done in some shape or form in the past. I mean, they've already done it, which doesn't lessen to any degree me doing it either. If anything, it says, great, someone else has already done this, which means it is possible. I'm going to do it in my own way, and I'm going to be able to accomplish it as well because I know that it can be done. I know that someone, not me, but someone like me or similar to me, has already figured out a blueprint, has already figured out a path to take. I'm going to model that path. I can make it uniquely me if needed, but I'm going to model it, and I'm going to tell my subconscious that I'm following a plan that has worked before in the past. Sure, there'll be obstacles to overcome. Sure, it won't work 100% the very first time. But like anything worth achieving, I'm going to make tweaks along the way. I'm going to overcome those obstacles. I'm not going to give up this time. And yes, you're going to try to talk me out of it. I understand it's your job, but I'm going to continue to push forward. And we will both see together in the end that we will be successful, that we will ultimately achieve our goals because we want to look forward to this bright future. We don't want to be critics of our life. We don't want to always live in the past. We want to live a life worth living. And to live a life worth living, I believe that means that you're here to grow. And that means you're here to make mistakes. It is almost impossible to move forward in life in uncharted territory without making a lot of mistakes. The goal is to make those mistakes small, to make them fast, to learn from them, to not get overwhelmed by them, and to continue to move forward. Because if you do that, your subconscious begins to get rewired. It says, oh, I see how things are. It's okay if we make mistakes as long as we learn from them. It's okay to remember those mistakes even, and just to make sure we don't repeat them in the future. But our goal isn't to focus on the mistakes. It's actually to focus on this bright future. It's to focus on these massive goals that we set for ourselves. And little by little, we'll begin to accomplish. We'll take more actions. Our thoughts will be further ingrained on a goal-setting person, a goal-setting human being, and it will begin to change our feelings towards life. We'll no longer believe that we are stuck in our past, that we are destined to simply stay in our comfort zone, that we'll be someone who believes and understands that our past is not predictive of our future. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Mindset and Motivation Monday. I wish you all the best. Have an inspired week. And as always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone else you believe it could serve.